Welcome to another edition of Talk of the Town with Justine Wettschreck. That's me. I'm the Director of News and Information here at RadioWorks. Join me each Tuesday at 12:30 on AM 730 KWOA as I talk with local experts and officials on crime, courts, emergency management, and everyday safety. Any kind of public issues going on in the area that has people talking in your town. I'm talking today to Jim Hagedorn. He was the Republican Party's 2014 congressional. Boy, everything you just did so you did so wonderful. He is already announced his candidacy for the first congressional district here in Minnesota, and I am so happy to have you here today. So thank you for joining me.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, Justine.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're already making the rounds.
Well, yeah, we announced last week that back in the race here for Congress in the first district, and we did run in 2014. We achieved 45.7% of the vote against Congressman Walz, which was the highest percentage vote so far that any challengers received. I'll be the first Republican to try to go back-to-back against him. And, there's some precedent for that here in Minnesota. Congressman Klein up in the 2nd District, Congressman Peterson, they actually were on the ballot 3 times before they were elected. And sometimes you get these big districts, and it takes a while to get your name out there. It takes a while to build your organization and to attract the financial resources in order to wage a campaign against an incumbent. And we're going to give it 18 months and give it everything we have to take back the seat for the Republican Party.
Well, you did very well. I think your name is very recognizable. You have certainly been out talking to a lot of people, shaking a lot of hands. We see your face all over the place. So, that's a great thing. I think that's a really great thing.
The liberals don't like that, but what we did in the last campaign is we worked real hard to do the Main Street campaigning, is what we call it. Other people would say retail politics. Get out, meet people on Main Street, shake hands, answer people's questions, and just kind of crisscross the district and try to get known that way. We were outspent 6-1 in the race against Congressman Walz, and I won a late primary in August, and we only had 10 weeks for the general election. So under those circumstances, I think we did very well, and we're in an excellent position to continue building from that campaign to finish the job here in 2016.
Well, I know that I can say that there was a lot of people that told me personally, "Oh yeah, I met him," and I think that's something that's really worth saying, because I don't know that a lot of other people that are running for office would have that be said about them.
Well, when we started the race last time, I told folks we were going to spend an enormous amount of time shaking hands, and I think we shook about 75,000 hands in there.
That's a lot of hands.
And we would meet people at county fairs and parades, and they said, "I saw you 2-3 times," and I said, "Well, I'm just going to keep approaching you until you vote for me." But my philosophy is this: if you want to represent people of southern Minnesota in the Congress, in Washington, it's a very important job. You have to represent their views. Best thing you can do is get to know them before you get there, and then I think try to stay in touch with them after you're there. And one difference I have with Congressman Walz is that it's been 6 years since he had a town hall where he fielded questions from people on whatever subject they wanted to talk about, and I think you need to be accessible to the people you represent.
Absolutely. Now, what are some of the things that I feel like I've talked to you so many times that I don't know where to start. What are some of the things that you feel are some of the most important issues, not even going forward, some of the ones in the past that have come up, maybe where you and Mr. Walz differ?
Well, we differ on virtually everything.
Okay.
There are very few
That's a hard place
very
to start.
few issues where we agree. But I think the defining issues of this campaign, this is a very important election. You'll have a presidential campaign, which is you're going to have a Republican and Democrat. It looks like Mrs. Clinton, and then you have a whole bunch of Republicans. But there's going to be a big difference of opinion as to which way the country should go. Should we continue to follow this big government, high regulation approach to the economy that President Obama has us on, the policies that Congressman Walz supported, or should we get back to more free enterprise, capitalism with less regulation and more opportunity for people to invest their capital and expand business? That'll be a big difference. There's also going to be a big difference on foreign policy. We've seen some problems in the Middle East arise here under President Obama under the policies that Congressman Walz has supported. It's a sad deal, but the Middle East and North Africa, they're in chaos. The Muslim extremists are rising up. The Christians are being slaughtered. U.S. prestige out the door. I think we need to get back to more of a peace through strength policy, and one in which we defend the United States of America's borders and protect the country from people coming here from other countries. We need to screen properly, and we're not doing that. And we've seen under, unfortunately, the policies of President Obama that Minnesota has become a terrorist recruiting haven, and that's his own U.S. attorney said that. So those are two key issues: foreign policy, the economy. I think defending agriculture and farmers here in southern Minnesota, our rural way of life, is very important, and then our values. And on all these points, we can talk about it in depth, but the congressman and I have different philosophies and viewpoints, and I certainly would represent the people differently than him.
Boy, there really are going to be a lot of changes coming up in this election, aren't there? With it being a presidential election year, and it's really hard to know what's going to happen from here on out.
Well, the people of the country are going to have an opportunity to make either a big change or to continue what's going on. And I mean, if you look at the economy, I don't know too many people who really believe that this is a strong economy. I mean, right now economic growth is stagnant. I think it was 0.02% in the last quarter. We have the lowest job force participation since Jimmy Carter. And Jimmy Carter gave us an economic plague of biblical proportions. That's not something we want to emulate. Wages are flat, and it's really difficult for people to get ahead because their disposable income is shrinking with higher and higher costs. And I believe a lot of the problems are there's just too much government in the marketplace. There's too many regulations, too many big government programs, and the tax code needs to be updated. And so I think we need to kind of weed out that extra government, give people an opportunity to use their capital, try to get people to invest in their businesses, to grow business or expand business, and help people get higher paying good jobs. And right now I think the country's on the wrong track, and we need to get back to what works.
How do you go about weeding out extra government?
Well, a couple of things. One is these big government programs like Obamacare. I really believe that you can sort of track the downward trend in the economy, especially with people being forced out of full-time labor, full-time jobs, to when Obamacare was first implemented. And it's costing business and it's costing people a lot of money. I talk to people all the time, especially in the last campaign, a young lady from Albert Lee who said that she's now working 2 part-time jobs, working more hours, and making less money because of Obamacare. And they have a limitation under Obamacare where if you have more than 50 employees working full-time, it kicks in and it hurts businesses. So a lot of businesses won't hire people full-time labor. But another way to you kind of weed out the government, the excessive government in the economy, is through regulatory reform. Right now, the Obama administration is being very aggressive in implementing big government regulations, especially out of the EPA, but other agencies as well, that are dominating industries. We've destroyed the coal industry in 6 years. We're putting a lot of regulations on farmers and on small business. And I saw one statistic where regulations out of Washington are costing manufacturing companies in the United States upwards of $30,000 per employee. That's a lot of money to be pulling out of the economy to comply with the federal regulations, a lot of which are excessive. So we need the Congress to start making the decisions as to whether or not regulations go into place, not these executive regulatory agencies like EPA that are out of control. So I would be for regulatory reform. Congressman Walz has voted against that concept time and again, and he supports that type of big government stuff that Obama's doing in the economy.
All right. This is Justine Wettschreck. You're listening to Talk of the Town on KWOA, and my guest today is Republican Jim Hagedorn, who announced his candidacy last week for Congress in Minnesota's 1st District. We'll be right back after this break.